Mr. Ram Jethmalani has been one of your mentors, right? So, for somebody who doesn't know who Mr. Jethmalani was, can you tell us in your words, because his story was extraordinary?
Two things I must tell people. One, there is no substitute to hard work.
What goes in your head when you're representing them and you are the only one standing by their side?
In fact, if the whole country has already decided that the person is guilty, as a lawyer, it is more an obligation on me to defend that person. Because we cannot have a country where rule of majority will decide that whether this person is guilty or not.
Welcome back to WhyLaw, the podcast that takes you inside the legal world that only few people see from the inside. I am Varsha Gupta, your host, and this is powered by Bettering Results. My guest today has spent his career in the rooms most people only see in the news. He defends the executives behind the headlines, the fraud cases, the money laundering cases, the sexual harassment allegation, the people the whole country has already judged. He also represents the government of India as the central government standing counsel before the Delhi High Court. He has been involved in several contentious litigations for the central government. He has worked with Mr. Ram Jethmalani, the most celebrated criminal defense advocate in Indian history, and further he also trained under Mr. Siddharth Luthra, the former Additional Solicitor General of India. He's also a regular legal commentator on NDTV, Time Now, and India Today. And he was named the Indian National Bar Association's Young Emerging Lawyer of the Year in the year 2017. He has defended the likes of Dr. R.K. Pachauri, Nobel laureate, in the high-profile sexual harassment allegations against him. And not only he defended him, but also obtained order from the Honorable Court that no stigma exists against him. As a standing counsel for the central government, he has successfully represented government to take steps to provide legal assistance to 3 Indians sentenced to death in Indonesia. He also represented CBFC censor board in petition which sought stay on release of Dhurandhar. The list is never ending, and I think we must hear from the man himself. In the next hour, we are going somewhere where most lawyers will not go on the record. How you defend the guilty, how the real investigation looks like, and how to make a career as a criminal lawyer. Mr. Ashish Dixit, welcome to the podcast. So, Mr. Dixit, everyone who watches a crime scene and arrest on television, right? All of them think about it, but they have never said it loud, that when a lawyer knows that somebody is guilty, right? And they are defending them. So how does it feel to defend somebody who's already guilty?
See, these days this has become a very pertinent issue. Because of more media awareness, people are realizing that a perception is built around a crime that this person has done it. So people think, now that person has done it, how can a lawyer defend it? But the basic principle of our legal system is that a person is innocent unless proven guilty by a due process of law. So if we start going by public perception, that would be the beginning of end of rule of law. And every lawyer must understand this thing, that it is not only your job to defend someone who has approached you, it is your obligation to ensure that there is an effective representation given to him. This is also a duty cast upon you under the rules. The Bar Council of India rules clearly provide you cannot refuse to defend a person only because you or the public thinks that he is guilty. Because the process is, a crime has happened, the court has to decide whether crime has been done by an individual who has been brought forward by the police. So this, we have to be very conscious of this fact that we are the ones who are going to ensure that person has to be defended. No one should be condemned unheard. And importantly, you must have seen in all these cases which are media hyped, eventually the people have got acquitted by the court, most of the cases. So this creates more important obligation on us that we should not give up or we should not stop defending people just because a larger public perception believes that this person has done it.
So I definitely agree with what you are saying. But in cases like this, like where a whole country has decided against the person, right? So what goes in your head when you're representing them? and you are the only one standing by their side.
In fact, if the whole country has already decided that the person is guilty, as a lawyer, it is more an obligation on me to defend that person, because we cannot have a country where rule of majority will decide that whether this person is guilty or not. This is our first step towards going towards the banana republic. We have to be, there is a process. Article 21 applies to all. Everyone has to be defended. Everyone has to be prosecuted in accordance with law. Just because a perception is built, maybe because of media, maybe because of social media campaigns, that should not disentitle anyone from the appropriate, proper, and best defense available.
Okay. And before we go any further, like you have mentioned earlier also when we were discussing that Mr. Ram Jethmalani has been one of your mentors, right? So, for somebody who doesn't know who Mr. Jethmalani was, can you tell us in your words, because his story was extraordinary?
See, if I'm sitting here, it's only because of him. And he has played a very important part in my life. I joined him as an intern, and it's a very peculiar story. I was in my second year of law. I saw him in the High Court. I and one of my friends saw him in the High Court arguing another media sensitive matter, the BMW hit and run case, and in which Sanjeev Nanda was an accused. So he was defending him, and we saw him arguing in court number 10 of High Court. And that day, it was like a lecture going on in court. He was arguing with such good understanding of law. Everything was so clear. And so we decided that we thought that we must do our internship with him. And that's how we approached him. He asked us to contact his private secretary. We kept on following it, and it was in my fifth year that I finally got a chance to intern with him. And at that stage, we put in a lot of hard work, and he was kind enough to recognize us. So when I became a lawyer, he said that you can continue for some time in the office, because usually his practice was that he would only keep two interns. And coming to him, he is one of the finest lawyers which the independent India has seen. And in fact, he's one of those people who has contributed in developing the rule of law in this country, starting from Nanavati's case to the last case, to NJAC in 2015 and 17. So starting from 1950s to 2015, he continuously practiced, and his contribution is immense. And to younger generation who doesn't know him, I don't believe that there would be any person who has some interest in law and would not know him. But even those who don't know him in detail, I'll request them to read about him, to understand what does he say, what does he stand for. And he was one of those very important people who highlighted, and coming back to your first question, he was one of those very few important people who highlighted this issue that everyone deserves to be defended. You cannot go and say that no, there's a public perception against him, I cannot defend him. You must, it's your increased obligation that you must defend him.
Okay, so you worked directly under him, right? So can you tell me anything that you saw him doing in a court which has made you learn and which still helps you?
Two things I must tell people. One, there is no substitute to hard work. No matter how intelligent you are, no matter how connected you are, if you are not putting your hard work, you will lag behind in the race. Second thing, which was very important, which I picked up from him, and I asked him also about this thing, that as a lawyer, you should prepare your case in a manner that you should be able to explain your case to a judge like you're explaining to a children or a child who's studying in class nursery or 1 or 2nd. That is the level of clarity you should have in your case. The moment you have that level of clarity in your case and in your argument, your job is done. So you should not go behind too much of technicalities. Even if there is a technical issue, you should explain it in a very simple manner so that judge can understand, can appreciate it. Because if we step into the shoes of the judge, a judge has to deal with multiple cases on daily basis. So for him to dedicate this much immense time to a particular issue won't be possible. It's this you have to explain it very simply. So this I try to analyze, I try to put in my personal practice also, that I should be able to tell the judge that, sir, this is my case in a very simple language. If I am able to do that, I've seen that judges also appreciate that.
Right. So from this, like we have heard a lot about white collar crimes and you work on a lot of them, right? So for general public who's watching this podcast, can you explain in a simple manner what are white collar crimes like you will explain to your family member?
See, white collar is very simple. Anything which has it is a crime which is done by a person who's educated and who has put his education into use by committing a crime which has some financial implication. White collar crime is something that I am someone who belongs to an educated class. For example, I apply for a loan knowing fully well that I am not in a situation to pay. I float a business idea which will not survive, but on the basis of that business idea, I take money, I defraud the bank, I'm not able to repay, and then I go into NPS. So all these kind of offenses are basically white collar crimes. These are not the crimes which are done by people who were less privileged or who were economically weaker section, or they had some exposure to the crime, or there was some necessity, or a crime which has happened due to some prior rivalry or spur of the moment. These are the crimes in which people apply their mind and commit a crime. So, and this is mostly done by people who are well educated, they understand the nitty-gritties, they understand the complication. So these are kind of crimes are given a category of white collar crimes.
Okay. And like we have seen this a lot that, a businessman or a politician is arrested by the ED, right? So what is actually happening at that moment? Can you walk us through it like step by step?
See, arrest by any investigating agency is something which everyone is afraid of, and naturally, and ED has become a force to reckon with, not in a right sense of the word, but yes, ED, in the view of the fact that there are multiple crimes which have happened in the economic sector, which will we may not see any impact on an individual, but it has a impact on macro level. Your economy gets affected, you are not able to utilize those funds, because at the end of the day, if you will see, ED comes into picture where there is some financial fraud involved, and these are the crimes which affect the institutions of public sector, banks, because eventually it is the money of general public which is circulating in the market. So if a businessman is taking a loan of 1,000 crores and is not able to pay it, and there is a settlement of 700 or 500 or 300 crores, the 700 crores has gone from the public exchequer. So these are the crimes which require a special investigating agency, and that was the idea behind ED. And ED, because the provision under the PMLA section 37 is something which is very, what I should say, is a little tough, because it puts a condition that once you're arrested, the onus is on you to prima facie show that I have not committed this offense. So this is not the requirement of any other law. So in other cases where the normal police is arresting you, you have a higher degree of getting a bail. But in ED cases, because of this bigger, I should say, a bigger handicap which has been put by the statute, the people are not released on bail. And what happens when you are arrested? Obviously, arrest is something which everyone is not going to find a favor with. It's something which everyone is going to be afraid. And when arrest happens, it is majorly because you would be either not cooperating in the investigation, or you would be avoiding the investigation, or sometimes it happens in most of the cases that, for example, you approach the court for anticipatory bail. Maybe you were not required for custody. Just because you have approached the court for anticipatory bail and your bail application is rejected, that gives an additional ground to the IO to arrest you. Though that is not the requirement of law, that just because my anticipatory bail is rejected, it is not a ground that I should be arrested. But for an IO, it also becomes very difficult that now the court has not given him bail. Why are you not arresting him? So arrest is something which, as a defense counsel, when a client is with you, you should be very careful. And for a person also who's facing these kind of allegations, he should approach a defense counsel on day one. Not a situation should arise that his family is approaching when he's arrested, because if you are able to approach in the right time, there would be a strategy developed that you may not be arrested.
So do you think a lot of innocent people are also getting arrested nowadays? A lot of arrests are happening by ED. So
See, ED, I'll tell you one thing. Whenever an arrest is made, that has to be made in compliance of the law laid down in Joginder Kumar, that there should be a prima facie case. It is necessary. If not arrested, I am going to tamper with the evidence or that, or not, or something of that sort. There has to be some condition. So arrest is something which should have been the last resort. And I believe that once an arrest has happened, we can say that IO has maybe arrested in a wrong manner, or he is not, he should not have arrested. But once he presents the accused before the judge and judge remands him to custody, then you cannot say that arrest is something which is illegal, because you have a judicial stamp of approval. And that's why I tell people that our lower judiciary should be the most trained one. They should be able to stand up to the agencies and say, no, in these kind of cases, I am not going to give you remand. I am going to release him. And especially with the latest law which has developed in view of the grounds of arrest, the grounds of arrest have to be disclosed to the accused. So I don't go with this thought of school of thought saying that most arrests are illegal or they are done in a wrong manner. Arrest is something which is done in view of, because IO has to complete his file. He has to see that everything is there, what I am doing. If there are no sufficient grounds, the judges is going to ask me, the defense counsel is going to create a situation in the court. He's going to argue that no arrest was required. So it's not something that it's done without application of mind.
right, especially in money laundering cases, like what is the most important document that is required, and why does it matter more than any witness?
See what happens. All these offenses of money laundering are document based. At best, you will need some witness to prove the veracity of that document. As I had given you that example of obtaining a bank loan. So what is your evidence? Your evidence is your application to the bank, your business proposal, whatever proposal you have given. So all these things become a documentary evidence. So in these kind of cases, the emphasis should be that you should study the documentary evidence, the documents which are given, in a manner that you are able to build a plausible defense. As a defense counsel, my job is only to give the plausible defense to the court, saying that there is a situation that the crime has not been proved by the prosecution beyond reasonable doubt. In the system which we follow, the onus is 99.9% on the prosecution. If I am, as a defense counsel, able to show 1.1% doubt in the theory put by the prosecution, my job is done. So even in documentary cases, it is much more difficult to prove your innocence, because a witness can turn hostile in court. Witness can take your side. There are ways that we all know what happens,
Yes.
how witnesses changes. But what do you do with the documents?
Right.
So you have to apply your mind even more and find out a defense which will stand, because there is nothing, document is not going to change in court. So it becomes more difficult for a defense counsel when the documentary case is there.
Okay. So I also read that you work with the government also, right? So you have sat inside the government side also of the courtroom. So can you tell us, like, what does a great defense lawyer has to do that generally does that worries the prosecution?
See, my assignment with the central government is primarily on a civil side. I'm not going there doing the criminal cases. I only represent Union of India and their ministries in the civil court of law. And on that side of what I have realized is, it's more about public policy, how the policies are made by the government and how they are defended. So as a defense counsel, my role has been completely different. Now, there is no overlapping that because I'm a government counsel and a defense counsel, nothing overlaps, because Union of India is not prosecuting anyone. The litigation which we undertake on behalf of Union of India is majorly the policy issues the writ petitions filed against Union of India, challenge to the vires of laws. So these kind of litigation. So it does not delve into the area of prosecution. And as a government counsel, I can tell you that what I have realized, that the statutes which are formed, there is a requirement for a different, and this was, I was not aware. I used to concentrate more on the facts of the case, but as a, when I shifted on doing this government matters, I realized if I'm reading the statute more, I am finding more loopholes in the case, because the statute, there are so many multiple interpretations which can be made to one particular provision. Each time you will read them, you will find something new. So this I was not concentrating. I was told as a criminal lawyer, your facts are 80% of your case, 10% is your law, and remaining 10% is your court craft. This was taught to me. But then I think at least it is 60% facts, 30% is your interpretation of law, and 10% is your court craft. So this has something which, this wisdom or this experience I've gained being a government counsel now.
Okay.
Huh.
So we have read this somewhere that in one of the matters that you were handling, Mr. Arnab Goswami was supposed to, tender an unconditional apology. So can you please tell us about this matter?
See what had happened. This was a case which I was defending, and again, because you were highlighting that a public perception is built, so I was defending a person who was declared guilty of committing sexual harassment on national televisions and all those media debates, 9 p.m. prime time, every time, every possible busy slot, there were debates that he has done it. The reason was that this accused, who was this person who was made accused, was a scientist, and he was a Nobel laureate, and he was the chairperson of intergovernmental panel on climate change. So this created a lot of public eye around the case, and this was way back in 2015. So I was defending him, late Dr. R.K. Pachori, and Padam Shri, Padam Vibhushan. You name every award he has gotten, and he has done a lot of contribution for climate change. And because of him, the issue of climate change has come in forefront. So he was someone against whom some allegations were made of sexual harassment. So, and initially only we noticed that there is a concentrated media campaign going against that. Every channel is doing debates, trying to project. Suppose like tomorrow we have a date before the honorable court, and in the evening there would be huge debates. All people will be called, and perception would be created in media that this person is a serial offender and all those kind of thing. So I approached the high court with the civil suit seeking injunction against this kind of reportage, and we simply made a prayer that anything which is not said in court, any proceeding which has not happened in court of law, should not be reported. So, but as we all know, media doesn't listen. So there were violation of these injunctions. We preferred a contempt petition. In contempt petition, Mr. Goswami, Economic Times, Times Now, everyone, they were respondents. And eventually court made a finding that yes, prima facie they have violated the orders, and an option was given to them: either you face contempt, the proceedings of contempt which can lead to punishment, or you apologize. And we also accepted that because Mr. Pachori had passed away by then. So in that case, Mr. Goswami had tendered an unconditional apology on affidavit to the Honorable High Court, saying that his reportage was not correct, and it was violative of order. So that was very interesting, because usually that doesn't happen. And it was personally for me also, I should say, something which gave me immense satisfaction, because this was one of those first big cases I got in 2015. So making this case reach to a logical conclusion was very important for me. So that happened long back.
Okay, so let's talk to the law students and young lawyers who are, listening to this podcast. A lot of them dream for careers that you have built, right? So, can you tell me, if you had to build your careers from scratch with no connections, no matters in hand, everything, what would be your roadmap like for the first 5 years?
See, I think I am someone who's technically a first generation counsel with no background in this profession. Nothing. All I'm, whatever I've achieved is because of my seniors. They have trusted me a lot. And that's why I tell young lawyers, whoever comes to me and interns with me, make sure you intern in best of chambers. Make sure you're able to give your 110% during your internship. That is the one thing which is going to take you very far, and that is one thing which is going to create a difference in your life, whether you will become a good lawyer or you will become an average lawyer. And also, second thing, choose your senior very wisely. Make sure you have a senior who has good amount of practice, who is willing to dedicate hours to you. And when I say dedicate hours to you, it means that he is relying on you. He's someone who gives you an opportunity to do something, that you take this file, prepare a note, and work on this. Because it is very difficult for seniors also to rely on juniors, because we also look for juniors on whom we can give the file and say, prepare a note, help me in this case, and I can argue. Because when your practice is going to grow, you will have 20 cases a day, 10 cases a day, 5 cases a day. It is humanly not possible to know everything of those 5 to 20 cases. You need a junior who is going to work on that, a team of juniors. So make sure you go to that office where there is a lot of exposure and a senior is willing to rely on you. This will take you a lot far. Then build your relations. The relations which you build in your initial years, and especially the small clients which will come to you, you will see in your office, suppose if you are in a big chamber, your boss will be doing a big matter for him. But if you are able to convey that you are someone who can work, that client will ask you to do a small favor for him, a very small matter. Yeah, I have something in district court, if you could go. Don't get carried away with the blasting glory of your senior. Oh, I am to his junior, how can I go? That is your chance. If you are able to catch on that, maybe after 5 years he will have something big and you will get that. So don't identify yourself as your senior counsel. I have done this mistake. We used to think that, I'm working with Mr. Jetnani, that aura is there. Never. He is someone, your senior has his own identity. You are just working with him. The moment you're out of his chamber, the attitude of people will change towards you. So your attitude in that chamber towards other people is something which is going to help you a lot. So number one, internships. Don't compromise. Make sure you intern in best of the offices, firms. If you want something in corporate, good senior counsels. People say don't intern with senior because you're not able to draft. I'll tell them, please intern with senior counsels. Drafting can be learned when you have matters. Every draft is a new learning. After now 17 years of practice, even today, if I have to draft something, it is something new. There is no standard format for drafting. So much emphasis is made on drafting. First, you need to understand the matters, because once you are able to spend time with a good senior, you will develop a thought process which that senior has spent 15 to 20 years developing. And I'm talking about young seniors. Imagine working with someone who's in his 50s. So if you're able to pick something up from him, all that number of years of experience will come into you. So forget, I say, okay, drafting is something which is important, but it is not something that, no, don't work with a senior counsel. Work with a senior counsel, because you will see the application of mind to the extent of what has to be done in court. Because you may have a phenomenal draft. Oh, what a good English. Everything explained very succinctly, very clearly, but you're not able to convey it to the court. Because the system which we follow, your argument is something which is going to take you forward. Your court craft is something which is going to make you a good lawyer. Because you may have a very good draft, but if it is not properly conveyed in the honorable court, what can you do? So that is also very important.
So even while they work with seniors, they should try to build their own identity and, not just be completely like that. If I'm working with this person, I cannot handle small matters, right?
Yes,
So that is very important
very
if you.
important, because what happens that we think, no, I'm in such a big office, why should I do this small matter? Suppose if a lawyer, I am working in Supreme Court of India, working with a senior counsel who appears in Supreme Court of India. He sees that I am someone who's dedicated, who's working, and senior relies on me. He comes to me, "Yaar, I have a small matter in Noida, can you take it up, or can you help me with that?" You will say, no, no, yaar, I am a Supreme Court counsel, how can I don't have this attitude. There is no lawyer of Supreme Court of India. A lawyer is a lawyer. I saw Mr. Jethmani at the age of 91 going to Patiala House. You see all these top counsels going to every court. Don't make this false, stories in your mind that I am a Supreme Court counsel or I am a High Court counsel. You are a counsel. Suppose if you're able to give your relief to the client at the initial level, he will be ever grateful to you and will refer hundreds of clients. And suppose you in Supreme Court also you're not able to give him relief, he'll never come back to you. So it's about the final outcome is what is the relief which you're getting to your client. So that is the something which you have to work on, and make sure you, when your opportunity knocks on a door, just take it. Don't think it's big, small. Everything is small. Once you go in hindsight, you think about it, oh, that was very important. Had I not done that, he would not have approached me for a bigger case. So that's something which you should do.
Right. So when you talk about, working with good seniors, you should have good seniors in the beginning, right? Who have handled multiple matters, right? So you have worked in two of the best chambers of the country. So how did you get into it, and what is your advice? And because a lot of advocates, I also speak to, they're like, we are not able to find a senior. So what was your approach when you were finding a
See,
senior?
first thing is identify a senior. Like I told you, both my seniors, I had identified them in my college days. Mr. Luthra, I saw him giving a lecture in my college in 2007 when he got designated as a senior. At that time, I decided him that I will join him. That was my goal, that I will join him. Mr. Jethmani happened by accident. I was interning with Mr. K.K. Sood. He told us that Mr. Jethmani has come to argue, go and listen to him. So we went as a student to see what he's arguing. They're like, even I tell my interns that once my work is over and if my matters are not reaching, you sit in court and listen to senior. So I went and saw his argument, and then we saw that he's a phenomenal counsel. We had heard about him, but we had never seen him arguing. So approach your senior counsels. It is not, see, I am a living example of someone who has no family connection. My family never knew Jethmani or Mr. Luthra personally. I had no background, no judge knows me, no senior counsel was known to me. In fact, maybe till my second year, I was not even aware that there is a distinction of senior and non-senior. It was only in my second, third year I learned this thing. So you have to identify your senior, and how do you identify? Either you will see them in your colleges giving lectures, or now because of there is a lot of social media, you see counsels in public life also, you can identify them. Or during your internships, you will see best of lawyers in every court. Once your senior's work is done, you spend your time inside court, not in high court canteen sipping coffees or standing here and there. Sit inside court. Go to, for example, I'll give you only about Delhi High Court. Go to court number 1, go to court number 10, go to court number 14, where contentious matters are argued. You will see best of seniors. Go to commercial side, and then you will be able to identify that, yeah, this senior is good. Approach him. Maybe not in next 1 year, 2 year, but eventually you will get placed. So that's your target. That should be your target, that a senior should be the best senior, and someone, how do I explain this? A senior should be someone on whom you can rely and you can rely. It has to be mutual. So if you're able to find that senior, you will have good growth in this profession.
So according to you, what are 2-3 skills that separate a junior criminal lawyer from those who quit very early?
Those who
quit very early?
See,
like 2-3 skills that a junior criminal lawyer should have, so that they are not giving up on it, right?
Number one, I think he should be very practical, because criminal law is all about how street smart you are, because it is a story against your story. Whatever prosecution case is a story. You have to be street smart to be able to break that. I had told your job as a defense counsel is to create a doubt in the mind of a judge that the story put forward by prosecution is not trustworthy. Second, you should be aware about all the court procedures. As a lawyer, especially practicing in Delhi and around in northern part of India, a lawyer should know every procedure. I tell my juniors, spend time with the clerk. Don't straight away come to us. Spend at least 2-3 months with the clerk so that you understand how court functions. Because eventually, when you will become a lawyer who's going to have his own practice, you will require a clerk. So if you don't understand how the registry or the court functions, anyone can make you fool. So you should know if how things work. Third thing, maintain your relations. And this, why I'm saying this, because everyone says, yeah sir, आपने ये तो बता दिया that how do you present yourself in court, how do you behave in court, but sir client कहाँ से आएगा? That's why my emphasis is always on this thing, that develop your relationship. Even if you're getting something very small, don't leave it, because that is something which is going to help you a lot. So these three things are very important, and there are multiple other things, but these three things are something which will keep you floating in this profession.
Okay, so with this, criminal litigation has something like it is not a very it is not a career which is paid very well in the early years, right? This is what people think, right? So after 6 months or so, if they are not earning much, they would like to quit. So what is your honest answer? Like, is it worth it to spend years to build a criminal law practice?
See, any practice, whether it is civil or criminal litigation usually doesn't pay, and there is a reason behind it. Because I have seen, college students saying that, Array, they take work from us, but they don't give us the salary which is paid to lawyers in firm. But the fundamental difference between a litigating counsel and a counsel who's working for a firm is this: a litigating counsel is basically getting trained. A firm counsel is going to stay in that firm. His journey is inside that firm. He will always be working for the partners, and he may well be one day a partner. But look at a counsel who's in my chambers. For example, if there is a senior in which with whom someone is working, my chamber has a rule: no one is going to stay more than 2 years. After 2 years, no matter how good you are, no matter how bad you are, you're out of the chamber. Go out of the chamber, learn, work, develop your practice. So for me, that 2 years period is something which in which I am training that person. So during that training, and it will happen on several occasions, that I am not taking that much work from him as much I'm giving training to him. So there is a practice in the civil and criminal litigation that the salaries are not paid at par with the firm culture, and perhaps that's not even possible also, because firms work in a different, there's a different criteria of working. In litigation offices, the criteria is completely different. And now I think we are living in golden times, because the stories which I have heard from my seniors was that they never gotten paid. Especially in Bombay has no culture of paying. That it is only after 2-3 years they will not pay you in salary. What they will do in one of the cases, they will get you a junior fee. But in Delhi, now the culture has changed that even litigating counsels are giving money to their junior, only that much that they are able to survive. And I'll give you my own personal example. When I was working with Mr. Jetwani, because my journey was that I joined him as an intern, then continued for a while. Then I joined Mr. Luthra, stayed with him for almost 2 years. Then I wanted to start my own practice. And at that time, I had a discussion with Mr. Jetwani, who told me that you can, start your practice, but you also work with me. And his wisdom was very, that's why I gave so much credit to that gentleman. He told me there would be days when you would have no work. And those are the days when you will be frustrated. So you stay in this chamber also, but you keep on doing your work also. So at that stage, he wanted to, Lata ma'am was there. She told me that because you're working for us, we will pay you. And in that thing, they were very good. But I somehow had this thought in my mind that if I take this money, I'll enter into that comfort zone. Because suppose I, as a counsel, if I'm getting X amount from an office, and I want to develop my own practice, I will never be able to step out of that zone because that money is coming regularly to me. So I'll be thinking, yaar, if I start my on my own, where will I get this 50,000, 1 lakh, 1.5 lakh? So you will never be able to take that leap of faith that yaar, ab mujhe na, I have to start on my own because paisa aa raha hai. Once you're not getting that money, that gives you that zeal कि मुझे यार फटाफट काम सीखना है and I have to start my own. So this is a second way perspective of looking at
Yes.
things. Because usually I see people on LinkedIn saying, अरे हमें पैसे नहीं देते. But you understand, I have seen lawyers working as a junior counsel for 10 years and they are not able to step out because
Because
now
you get that comfort, right?
that money is
Similarly,
coming
in
to you.
corporate, we get that
You
comfort.
have that expenses. You have like, if I start today, where I'm going to get 1.5 lakh rupees per month, so you never step out. And that I think is something, it's a glass ceiling which no one is able to break. And if you look at the litigation, there would be seniors who may have not got something for 3 years, but once their practice grows, there's no looking back. You have seen how you have seen how kind of work the seniors are doing and how kind of money which they're earning.
So you are also visible on television as a legal commentator. So do you think media presence helps in building practice also?
Of course, it does. It does. I'll advise everyone, if you're ever getting an opportunity, please appear, please prepare for that, and please be sensible on TV because now times have changed. The debates are on a different tangent, and but still I'll tell you, you should always if there is an opportunity, you should always go and appear, and only with one caveat which I also personally apply. You should never speak on the case in which you're appearing. If I am handling a case in court of law, I should not be handling that case on media, social media, television, because that will hamper your defense or your ability to argue before the court.
So, what is your take on the legal education system in India? Like you've seen, you graduated from law school and then you started working in litigation, right? So, what was the biggest shock for you when you started litigation that, I've studied 5 years now, I have to start from scratch? Is it something that you also thought when you started litigation?
See, I'll be very candid with you. Our legal education is not developed or is not, what should I say, it is not curated in a manner that it is going to help you, especially in practice. It is more of academic because, and they're also correct, it's not only litigation that a law school has to cater to. Academicians also come out of same batch, same school, same colleges. So, but if you're stepping into litigation, I can tell you whatever you have learned in your college has no relevance. The only thing which is going to help you is your internship. I myself started my first internship in fourth year, but I tell people my life has changed because of internship. So your internships are the only thing which is going to help you. You may study everything, you just have to study to qualify. But whatever you are studying in college, don't think, oh, I was topper in my college, I have to be a good counsel, I am surely going to be a good counsel. No, that is not the case. There are lawyers who were very average in their law schools but have turned out to be exceptional counsels because the requirement in court of law is completely different. Similarly, you may be a very good student, but in corporate the requirement is something else. You may be a good student, the requirement in academics is something else. So college is only to qualify. The only good out of your college you can take is enjoy that time and intern when you can. Don't say that, oh, I'll only intern when college requires me. Whatever time you're getting, intern.
Okay, so a question like a junior lawyer is making an argument and the judge interrupts and asks something that the junior lawyer has not prepared for. So, how that situation should be handled?
He should be very candid to the court. Simply say, your lordship has put a very pertinent query. I have skipped this. Lordship may give me some time. I'll get back on this. A judge will always appreciate honesty. If you don't know something and you start befooling a judge, you will be thrown out of the court. It's better, even till today we do it. If especially on government side, because the litigation is so complicated. There are certain things which we are not able to prepare. So if judge is going to ask me something, I am going to simply say, yes, your lordship, I know this, and I'll answer. But if I don't know, I have to be candid enough to the judge to tell him, sir, I have skipped this. Lordships may give me some time. I'll come back. B, just it is not going to harm you. It is going. You will be more respected as a counsel.
Okay, so let's bust some myths. I'm going to ask you a certain things which people believe to be true. So you can either say it's true, false, or it's complicated. So myth one is defense lawyers only get their clients off technicalities. They do not actually care about justice.
False. Myth.
Myth two, if you are arrested by the ED or CBI, you are almost certainly going to jail.
Yes.
Myth 3, the legal system in India is so slow and broken that it does not matter how good your lawyer is.
False.
Myth 4, only lawyers from elite law schools or famous legal families can build a successful career.
Completely false. We have a Supreme Court judge, female judge, first generation, yesterday appointed.
And myth 5, the best lawyers are the most aggressive ones, the ones who shout and dominate.
Partially correct.
One last thing, there is a young person who's listening to this podcast, maybe a law student, young lawyer, or somebody who's just watching and has not figured out their life yet, right? So what is your advice to them?
Don't think journey is tough. Journey is good. I told 3 things you have to follow if you want to get into litigation. Find a good senior. Be inquisitive. Always be ready to work. Don't shy away from working. Your late nights are going to pay you. There's no that I have spent so much of hours on this matter or I've been working. Everything is going to give you a reward. Number 3, always be willing to take up the cases especially those who are first generation or who are trying to build their practice. Never say no to anything. It's a farce, I believe, when people say domain expert is good. In your initial years, no one is domain expert. Do whatever you get. Prepare whatever you get. Work on that. Give your 100%. Leave everything rest to the judge, because they also understand. They also see there is a fresh counsel. There's a young counsel who's appearing before them. They've also been through that journey. And I can tell about Delhi High Court. It is one of the finest court in this regard. Seniors get maybe less attention than a junior counsel. If a junior counsel who's appearing, and especially if someone who's nervous, the judge is very accommodative. You'll hardly find a judge who will lose his patience. So there are people who are willing to help. You'll find seniors. Don't shy away. And this one thing which I missed and which is very important. Don't shy away from asking questions from seniors, even in court. We feel very happy if a young person appears before us and tells us, yes, sir, I have this issue. Can you please help me? You will find most of the lawyers trying to help you. So bar is kind of a family. You should just be willing to contribute, be eager to learn, willing to, go that extra mile, and you will be successful in life.
So there is one follow-up question on this, like you mentioned about specialization. A lot of young lawyers especially are very confused, like, whether we should specialize in criminal, corporate, or civil litigation, or we should keep a mix of it. So
in initial years, you should always keep a mix of it. And why, I'll tell you. If I don't know something, if I have not explored that something, how will I know that I'm good or bad at it? So if you don't do criminal matters or you don't do corporate matters, how will you understand that, oh, yaar, ye to mujhe samajh nahi aata. Something is like taxation. Most of people will not understand. You need someone who is, 100% domain expert. But especially for someone who's in his young years, you should take up everything. Because maybe, and I sincerely follow this thing, once you do everything, it is only then you will realize at this particular thing, I am my best and I will follow this. So for 5, 7, 8 years, you will have to do everything. And this will give you a broader exposure. And I must tell another thing, and this is going to help young lawyers also. See, in our profession, there are only 3 things which will happen to you. In criminal law, You will become, suppose you practice in trial court, you will become an exceptional trial court lawyer. If you are practicing in trial court and in high court, you will become a senior counsel. Your judge, you progress, or you will become a judge. So once, only if you are a trial court hardcore trial lawyer, just keep that aside. Suppose I, as a lawyer, grow into a senior counsel. So a senior counsel cannot refuse, oh, sorry, I cannot do this kind of matter. I will only do commercial law. Your practice will be very limited. So for a senior counsel, he should be aware of everything. Same principle applies to a judge. A judge is today sitting on a criminal roster, will tomorrow go to writs, then to civil suit, then to patent law. So all these things, if you are able to get knowledge, maximum knowledge in your initial 5 to 7 years, that is something kind of a foundation for your life. And I'll tell you what Mr. Jetmani told me once when I was roaming in garden and he saw me kind of wasting my time. He told me, son, you can give your initial 5 to 7 years to this profession and you can be successful. If you miss these 5 to 7 years, there are thousands of lawyers roaming here and there. So you have to decide, your initial 5 to 7 years are going to chart your journey in this profession. What will you do? So be 100% available in those 5 to 7 years. Don't miss on any opportunity and try to get whatever knowledge you can get, because see, once you do a case, you get knowledge about that, of that domain law. So if I'm able to do that in a very good manner, okay, next time I'll be more fluent, more responsive towards that. But if I say no, this is the only thing I'm going to get, tomorrow 5 people will approach you for a different thing, you'll say no, I can't do it. So then you will say, अरे मेरी तो practice ही नहीं चल रही. So eventually you have to do everything. So be prepared for that.
Right. So, since you have built your own independent practice, you have juniors working under you, right? Is there any system that, lawyer has to follow to build their practice, which is, growing every month? Like,
See, they can't, there's, I will not say a system, but you should build your relations. Make sure your client is happy. Make sure your client, and how is your client happy? Make sure you're able to give him the relief which he wants. And how do you do it? You have to give your 100% to your file. So it all comes down to your preparation, how much of work, time you're giving to your file. And as I told you, one client is going to give you maybe 10 another client. So make sure you do that particular case in a manner that even after 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, he has something, he will call you that, yeah, I have this issue, you have to look into that. It happens with us also. A client for which I did a matter in 2011 approached me in February of this year for some issue with which he had. So, and I almost had forgotten about him, but because he remembered, I'll tell you one thing. I was in my 2010, I was working with Mr. Luthra. There was this tenant in our premises. He had his friend. So there was an issue of leave to defend. He was facing a eviction proceedings under the Delhi Rent Control Act. So in 2010, 8-9 months into profession, I had given him this some suggestion that you have to do this thing, otherwise this leave to defend will be allowed and you would be thrown out. This guy meets me in 2022 after COVID and tells me I'm still in that property because of that advice you gave me. So it is those, once you are able to help someone, they will remember you and they will get back to you. So it's like you have to provide relief to your client, and you have to also see, as I say, juniors. I said, a junior needs a good senior. A senior also needs a good junior. You have to identify people, cultivate them, give them something extra, give them a matter. Okay, chalo, this is something which I can't do. You also do it. Don't, I tell this thing to my colleagues also. Don't think yaar junior ko kaam dene se, suppose he's working for me, I give him a matter, go to Patiala House and you do it. Chota sa client, you do it. He will be more than happy. He would be dedicated towards you. Ki sir ne mujhe matter diya.
Correct. Ownership.
So then once you give that, because then this is like you're buying his loyalty, because you are giving, putting his trust in you,
Yes.
because whatever he's doing in your chamber, that is part of his job. He's not going to get anything for, he's only going to get that salary. Once you do this extra thing for him, he will be like, अरे यार सर ने तो मुझ पे इतना भरोसा करा है, I am not going to disappoint him. So as a senior also, it is also our obligation that okay, we have to grow, nurture our juniors, how they are going to function. So these are 2-3 things which you have to concentrate, and eventually, it's not that difficult, because it's like life happens, practice also happens, it keeps on going. So you just have to stick around, work hard, and keep on doing it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dixit, for sharing your experiences with our viewers. And it was a pleasure to host you in this
Pleasure is all mine.
podcast. Thank
Thank
you.
you.